Freestyle the news.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within.
Please finish.
Yes,
May I finish responding, please?
Destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country.
They come from an inferior culture that is horrible.
If necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Down the rabbit hole. Panic every time they open up a fucking poll. You hate my culture like another post from Asmongold. Somebody famous died, you wanna see a picture, bro? What the fuck you posted for? I got no insurance for hurricanes or a rainy day. I ain't got no answer, just play the music and let me sway. Macy's probably cutting the Diddy float for the big parade. Elon trying to play with a couple jets up from outer space. Highly interrupted, I'm who people fuck with. Town halls filled with motherfuckers you pretending aren't your secret trumpets. Enemy within, like every story that you cover up. When Mr. Free Speech gotta pay the bills that you coming up with. Bowen need $1 billion, keep the cloud in the building. Timing like the spider ain't hype, then I ain't going to film it. Planet Fitness shaking if they getting cancelled in one click. Ethan burning bridges with Hasanabi, leftovers come back Najee. The fuck do you think you blocking? Your boba still looking costly. You tasting somebody who deaf and walk with cerebral palsy. You idiots who picking up Michigan. Long as Netanyahu controls every bomb that you giving him. Catch me at the chicken shop. I got shorty blushing, she be like, yo, we should let it rock. We be vibing heavy like it's Jason out with Hoda Cobb. Oh my god, man, the kid be looking strong, but a long way here till he look LeBron. Sicker than your whooping cough, you look soft. Bald bitch, mad at CoffeeZilla, throw your tantrum, dog. Young Thug want the peace, but Drake and Future don't know what they want. I heard Yaya finally got North Korea press up on Ukraine. Who are you in the food chains? All of these new claims. Panic over momentum, the headlines need a new shame. Everybody talking swing states with a point range. I be talking how this whole year's been so strange, like Kanye. Oh! Too soon? The allegations racking up, my boy. Get up. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching Freestyle the News. If you like what you heard, please slam that like button with the psychic shock you just developed while the guy that you just met uses his supernatural powers. By the way, he doesn't believe in ghosts, to fight out the aliens that just abducted you in the greatest anime OP of this year next to One Piece. And leave a comment on your favorite bar. Bro, the Dadan, I don't know how many Dadans it is, OP, really fucking great. Been having a good time with that one. And also hit the bell and the subscribe thing. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of people want to see more of my content, and if you hit the bell, you can do that. But man, it's been a crazy October so far. It feels like a year every single week. So real quickly, let's just jump into this breakdown. We got so much to talk about today. I covered the Asmongold news a couple of days ago, so you can go watch that Zaid Talks. Now, very quickly, I want to say a couple of things about Liam Payne and everything that surrounded that. Probably one of the most shocking moments of this week was the death of One Direction member Liam Payne, who was found to have fell out of a balcony of a hotel room in Argentina. Further investigation is suggesting that it may have been intentional and that drugs and drinking may have been involved. At least that's what some of the police are implying. Now, there was an outpouring of grief. The members of One Direction, who had all had tenuous relationships with Liam, coming together to honor their brother, issuing a statement. We're completely devastated by the news of Liam's passing. In time, when everyone is able to, there will be more to say, but for now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother who we love dearly. The memories we shared with him will be treasured forever. For now, our thoughts are with his family, his friends, and the fans who loved him alongside us. We miss him terribly. We love you, Liam. And that's obviously heart-wrenching, but I really quickly want to talk about specifically the response from TMZ. Because TMZ published photos of the incident shamelessly before anybody really knew what was going on or what could be confirmed, which prompted immense backlash from all corners of the internet. And I would like to take this time to say, can we please stop as a culture giving TMZ fucking any attention? Because at this point, TMZ's largest contribution to the culture is telling us when a celebrity is actually divorced and breaking news about public figures' death, sometimes at the expense of the family, or when they're sick, like when they did that to Jamie Foxx. Fucking ghouls. Like, I understand there's a lack of standards with paparazzi, but I think we as a society can hold back on some of that information until the family knows about it. Like, again, not publishing photos of a body right after it happened. I just think it's utterly gross and super fucked up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Fuck you, TMZ. So I've been trying to make more plans to kind of travel and step outside my bubble, try to get a little bit more air into my system instead of just living in this news cycle. And as most people who've traveled know, costs start at a certain place where you're like, oh, this seems reasonable. And then they go here because everything just adds. And one of those things is the magic square in your pocket that gives you all the information in the world, but data for that magic square can cost so much more when you're traveling outside of the United States. But thankfully, we live in the future with the sponsor of today's show, Saily. Saily is an incredibly helpful eSIM card service. If you don't know what an eSIM card is, it's pretty much an app on your phone that gives you access to the internet and everything else in over 150 different countries. So anytime you take a trip, you're not drowning in roaming fees. And it's compatible with iOS and Android. And it's an especially helpful service because a lot of times people will just hop from Wi-Fi spot to Wi-Fi spot when they're traveling. And doing that in another country sounds like something that you just got to deal with, but it is so much more of a hassle in practice. And Saily is just a very quick, easy solution. You download it once and you don't need to download a new SIM card for every country. Just one quick stop and you're on the internet instantly. And listen, if you scan the QR code and download the Saily app and use the code ZED at checkout, you'll get 15% off a Saily plan today. 15% off? Wow, that's cheap enough for you to play Not Like Us in Austria in case you encounter like a wild Drake fan, like it's a, you know, like a Pokemon battle or something. But listen, it's an incredibly useful tool, easy to make calls abroad, easy to access the internet. It's great. So if you're looking to travel or go outside the country, you want to have access to the internet without paying massive amounts of fees and just hopping from Wi-Fi spot to Wi-Fi spot. And if you like the rap show that we do and want to support it because it's cool, scan that QR code, download the Saily app, use the code ZED at checkout, and give your vacation some breathing room. All right. Back to Zed Talks. But let's start right off the bat with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's interview media blitz. And I've been annoyed so much by this coverage, and not from the pro-Harris or pro-Trump standpoint. There's just a lot of sensationalism we gotta talk about. So if you had your eyes this week anywhere near a screen where somebody could just overwhelm you with information, you'd know Kamala Harris and Donald Trump barnstormed the political media circus after a week of tightening polls and a Harris media blitz that wasn't particularly well received. Now, a lot was made last week of Harris's interview style, which was considered canned and repetitious, and saying that she didn't do enough during those interviews to differentiate herself from Joe Biden. But this is a whole new week, and after somewhat of a course correction during the Univision town hall, Kamala began the week in a sit-down with Charlamagne the God. Hey, we had a breakdown here of clips from the Charlamagne the God interview. We can't use it because it was copyrighted by Our Heart Media, and they will copyright claim the video. We'll put it up at toosooncrew.com so you can see. It's a breakdown. It is fair use, but YouTube is not a fan of fair use sometimes. So you can go there, you can watch it. But yeah, just wanted to let you know. She did good in the interview. You're welcome to see it. I'll link it below. Well, shit, where was this lady? You see what I'm saying? That's affable. Own your shit. Now, Trump also had a Univision town hall around the same time, which at this point, Trump has been doing a lot better with Latino voters pushing up in the polls. So Trump had a real opportunity to capitalize on that.
I want to give you the opportunity to try to win back my vote. Your, I'd say, action and maybe inaction during your presidency and the last few years sort of, you know, was a little disturbing to me. You know, what happened during January 6th and the fact that, you know, you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. Coronavirus, I thought the public was misled.
So the people that don't support a very small portion, we have a tremendous, about 97% of the people. That was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands.
And that's what happened. Yup. And that came after the infamous, hey, let's just stand around for 39 minutes and play music at the worst album listening party you've ever been to. Look, both the Univision town halls didn't softball Harris or Trump, but Trump had the decidedly harder time in what turned out to be a pretty rough messaging week for him.
Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there.
This segment isn't meant to be super partisan, okay? But those are just two viral clips in what turned out to be a disaster of a town hall. It didn't help that Trump canceled multiple interviews right after that thing. Those coupled with another clip of Trump talking to Maria Bartiromo, speaking about the enemy within, saying that they are a worse enemy than China or Russia, specifically referring to political opponents he'd consider using the military against.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. Not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country.
the towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
That is disqualifying and terrible, and obviously not surprising at this point. But it is the most out Trump has embraced a direct disunity message, even when his rhetoric has strongly implied it. It is unbelievably authoritarian, and he doubled down in a town hall with Harris Faulkner. By the way, that town hall had a bunch of Trump supporters there and was heavily edited, which nobody knew about because Fox did not disclose that. They went about like, oh, this is just a random assortment of female voters who apparently chant Trump when he asks them if they're supporting him. And quick aside here, Fox has always been a partisan political news operation, right? But this kind of holding water and the way it just presented this town hall was a journalistic malpractice that crosses whatever gray area line they were pretending to be in. But whatever, fuck it. The big story of this week was the interview between Baier and Kamala Harris. Now, this interview was hyped, especially with the performance Harris gave the week before, with the question of whether she would be able to withstand Baier, who has a history of tenuous interviews.
So, that they're not they're gonna be able to keep their doctor.
Brad, you got to let me finish my answers.
But sir, I know you don't like the filibuster.
Well, I'm trying to answer your questions, and you keep on interrupting. So let me be clear.
Like the 51 intelligence agents.
There were recounts in all of the swing states. There was not significant widespread
We're trying to get recounts, real recounts, not just numbers of votes.
Widespread corruption. There was not a sense of that. There were lawsuits, more than 50 of them, by your lawyers, some in front of
Yep, it's happened before to everybody. So with all that on the line, how did Harris do?
Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the. Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish.
You had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and
they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am. Not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. Suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
Here's the thing. Yes, it's contentious. Yes, it is her having to fight to be able to answer questions and have her space to talk. And also, yes, it is the best fucking interview she has done in weeks. If it isn't clear enough by now, it should be. Harris really excels in contentious settings. Almost every time she's been seen to have momentum is where she is talking back to somebody or zigging when they tell her to zag. The debate, her picking walls over Shapiro, yes, I'm counting that. Say it to my face, that. All of those work extraordinarily in her favor, while they tended to cut against Biden because he just comes off as cranky. Harris comes off as direct because she's not an 80-year-old man.
Who could be the 47th president of the United States. Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a
cakewalk. So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean.
Good on her for not falling for that bait. Now, the reactions to the interview were either, she crushed it, or she's done. You know, typical partisan bullshit. But if we're talking about substantive optics and who won that day, it gave Democrats a bunch of strong clips, and it actually appealed more to independent voters. And that aggressive style Harris seems to be keeping on when she addressed a couple of MAGA supporters who had come to heckle her rally.
And they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Now, as to how I feel about Brett Baier, the panic, and some of the spin that I've been seeing. Let's start with Brett Baier. The first clip I showed of him mischaracterizing Trump's "the enemy within" comments to try to cape for him are particularly disingenuous. That is deliberately changing the context of a very insidious thing that was said and is just straight up propaganda in an interview like that. Now, I will also say, Baier apologized for that mistake, which is good on him for recognizing. Now, in terms of whether he was more unfair to Harris than he would be to somebody else, Brett Baier just tends to give really contentious interviews, like the interview he gave to Trump that I showed earlier. I'm not going to hold his water, but I want to criticize the guy on when he does a double standard, not when he interrupts all of his guests, which, I mean, you could say that's a shitty thing to do, but I guess that's just his style, which he is consistent with. But that Fox town hall shit where they didn't disclose that it was a bunch of Trump supporters and then they edited out people fawning over him, that crosses a line, and that is saying a lot about Fox News. The kings of drawing more lines they will cross in 2 to 3 months. Now, secondly, about the panic around the momentum in the race and people talking about a shift, all of the Kamala's going to lose because she's tracking too much to the right. Trump is invincible on his economic message. The polls are always wrong. You know, for a culture that criticizes media and Twitter so much, we sure love a fucking headline. Here's the thing though. The race has been a toss-up for 4 weeks. 4. It hasn't changed. People blew a fit when Harris's chances in the Nate Silver model went from 55% to 49%. That's still a toss-up. You were a hair away from a coin flip. Like, what are you arguing over? Also, this idea that polling is just going to be 2016 and 2020 all over again. Like, this has been explained so much. Nobody knows if there's going to be a polling error or which way it would go. You didn't just have 2 elections, you had 4. Both midterm elections underestimated Democrats. Do you remember the red wave that didn't happen? And in terms of the error in 2016 and 2020, they know what happened. They studied it. In 2016, they didn't weight by education, which threw all of the results off. They fixed that, and then in 2020, they had something called partisan non-response bias. In 2020, it manifested like this. If you were a Republican or Trump leaner, you were more likely to be outside because you didn't believe in COVID or the restrictions around them. But if you were a Democrat or leaning Biden, you were more likely to be at home, which means you would be more likely to answer surveys, thereby tilting the results. That is at least the prevailing theory. And that partisan bias can still manifest today as well. If Trump is up in the polls, you may be more likely, if you're a Trump supporter, to answer the call and be like, hey, I support Trump. The vice versa also works with Kamala Harris. So overemphasizing a 1 or 2 point shift really isn't the point, but the media loves to do that. Also, there is a tendency between certain people to feel like if the poll has your person up, that means that when it comes to election day, you will herd towards them, right? So if enough people see polls about Trump up, then that means that, hey, I just want to be on the winning team and they're just going to vote Trump. And that's why you see 1 million people glazing on Twitter or on TikTok or in a YouTube comment section, which brings me to my third point about the spin. And this is a personal lesson I want these people to specifically hear. If you are somebody who went to one of the Kamala Harris interviews and started downvoting them and flooding them with negative comments to try to skew people like, look how terrible she is, or I'm just here for the comments, or she's definitely gonna lose in November, you're a fucking idiot, and you're actually helping the video you're trying to destroy. FYI to all of the people who don't understand how YouTube works 18 years in, any engagement on a video boosts its reach. If you don't actually watch the channel, which don't fucking play with me, it is very obvious most of those comments are just there to start shit. Oh, Mr. Charlamagne is a black network and this looks like a Trump rally. Yeah, I really believe you're like an avid Charlamagne the God fan, bro. If you don't watch the channel and flood it, people who do watch the channel get upset with you, which means the undecided voters your guy is trying to win over, and he is still trying to win over people, are going to be upset with you and not want to vote for him. You undercut your ask and ultimately don't convince anyone undecided. What you do is fuck up any reasonable conversation that reasonable people who aren't insane and spend their time brigading YouTube comment videos should have, because they live in the real world, unlike you who are brigading YouTube comments. No one is gonna watch you flooding the channel and be like, oh my God, that seems like a sane thing to do. And that same process works vice versa, by the way. For the KHive, that works for Jill Stein stands. Brigading comments is not a good strategy, but for some reason, people believe that it just works when the 1 out of 10 times politicians don't have enough airtime and it sinks them. So just remember, silence hurts more than boos. And by the way, I think it's horrible whenever you don't let people discuss things that are as important as a presidential election. So I really do encourage all of you, when you watch a video, find some place to talk with people about it. Find a Discord. You can go to our Too Soon Crew Discord or something else where you can have a substantive discussion that isn't mired by talking points and people acting in bad faith. Because that's how you get crazy fucking opinions. But anyway, that's my thoughts on all of this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've just been frustrated with all of the way half of this has been covered. The race is a toss-up. The polls have tightened, but don't believe the panic. Don't believe the glazing. Believe your eyes and the conversations you have with other people, coupled with objective fact. But anyway, that's our show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell thingy so you know when I do another one of these. And yes, that good news show is still coming. I just had to do a video and then redo it and then do another video and then redo it. Like, I've just been working a lot this week. But anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.